Well, hello, Mark.
Hi, how are you, Don?
Well, it's October the 18th, Thursday at almost 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it must be midnight back east, huh?
Getting close to it.
Another opportunity.
Yes, and what a call from Bruce tonight on 52 minutes.
Yeah,
Wow, did you listen to it?
yes, I did.
Wow, very detailed.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, he mentioned the tranches, 8 days. The
He mentioned that on Tuesday. He was just reviewing that.
Yeah, right.
250 quadrillion every hour on the hour for 8 days.
I was thinking that Tony mentioned that too, didn't he?
I don't recall Tony saying anything.
Okay, it was Bruce then. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
a lot of stuff
yeah,
today.
the big thing, is the Neil Keenan thing. This guy, I've always been on the fence about him.
Mm-hmm.
Not even sure if he was the real Neil Keenan that I used to see in some of the videos.
Mm-hmm.
That's how uncertain I was.
Yeah.
And then I saw on his website that, he was being honored as a special person in Indonesia and celebration
Mm-hmm.
today. And I didn't send that out. And then Tilton said, oh, yeah, this is happening. And Bruce is coming back in and backstopping it, saying, "Yeah, this was a key part of the sequence of events, and he's the guy who's in charge of the gold behind the currencies and the Zim. Yeah, at least to get it started." So
Yeah.
that was interesting, and just goes to show you. You think you see it all, or you've got the big picture, and there's a big piece that shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um,
What's
you know,
interesting is through all of this, we haven't heard from Q since the 9th.
right. Yeah, and then there are people talking about 10 days, 10 days, I guess if that's a magical number, uh, you know, you can play with that. But it is interesting. I'd like today to see if he had posted, found
Nope.
that he hadn't.
Nope, he hadn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tomorrow will be
Um,
the 10th day.
yeah, well, let me just reflect on the Julian Assange thing. That's on the 21st,
Right.
Sunday.
Right. Yeah.
If that came out and then the market dropped because it was, let's say, uh, planned, planned meaning they were going to pull the seat out from underneath the market,
Yeah.
you know, um, as they can, that would offer the Julian Assange thing as a reason that, the market went down.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought. I don't know how it's going to all play out, but we'll see. Um, because that's been predicted, by Assange, I guess, for some time, and I believe he's part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
He only recently got his internet um, privileges returned to him by Ecuador and all that. I recall Mike Pence was down in Ecuador a couple of months ago, and I wonder if that might have been part a deal was being made. Don't know. Uh,
Why would
the other
else
thing,
would he,
go ahead.
Why else would he go to Ecuador? What is there in Ecuador that he'd want to go to?
Yeah, good question. Well, under the socialist president Correa, he moved the U.S. military out of there. They had um, an air base somewhere near the Colombian border,
Mm-hmm.
and so it could have been, can we get back into your good graces? Because this guy's leaning more capitalistic, even though he was the vice president under Correa.
Hmm.
And the two of them have had a falling out. since the election. You know, Correa backed him, and then after the guy was elected, Moreno is his name. He basically looked like he stabbed him in the back on the way out the door. Anyway, so that's a possibility. Who knows? But there are other considerations too why he could be down there. But yeah, so the other thing that kind of stands out in the news today has to do with the so-called blow-up between Bolton and Kelly outside the Oval Office.
Oh, really?
Over the border and all these immigrants coming up in the caravan. And Trump is saying, if Mexico doesn't hold those people back, we're going to close the border. I think that's really what they want to do. And the Bolton-Kelly thing is a distraction. They're getting the message out that they're going to do that, but they want everyone talking about those two guys arguing because that's the drama most people understand. There's something going on. Yeah.
Could be.
I'm thinking that that's playing. It's not just stopping a caravan, although I think that's part of it, but it's also part of martial law that will come into play. So they'll have their military assets on the border. According to Trump, we'll put the military on the border and close the border. And then Trump tweeted, maybe later, this thing with these people coming over the border, this is more important than the tariffs and the new bilateral agreements with Mexico and Canada. So he's stressing how important this is.
Well, did you listen to his speech in Montana?
No, I missed it.
Well, he said, I didn't listen to all of it, but I caught the part where he said in this caravan, he made a big deal about the caravan. The caravan's coming, but Mexico is not letting them into Mexico. They're not letting them into Mexico.
Oh, they're cooperating.
Yes. So that's not going to happen.
Well, that's good. So we'll see. I wondered if he really wanted to close the border, or if he's just hitting back at Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador. And I think it was Dave on the X-22 report who was saying, and maybe others elsewhere were saying people like Soros are paying, to have these people migrate forward. It's another.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yes. And I believe that.
Oh, yeah, I thought of that immediately. Well, not immediately, but soon after I heard that, I said, wait a minute, another migrant wave? Come on.
And, he wouldn't have to pay him a whole lot. A little bit for each one. That's why there'd be so many coming. How many is there? 4,000?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, you pay them $1,000 each. That's a lot of money in American dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they did that, sure.
That's
probably a last gasp by someone like Soros and the left. I saw in the scroll today in the news that Dianne Feinstein is talking about another investigation into Kavanaugh, trying to keep the flames alive. Maybe because the door is about ready to be blown down, and she's worried about being taken away.
Well, she's being investigated too. So.
Yeah, that was my muse. So.
Yeah.
This is all kind of last gasp kind of actions, and I guess if they're going to come after me, I might do something like that. I can understand that.
What have you got to lose?
Yeah.
The mentality is, you're taking me down, I'm taking you down too. Or I'm going to do as much damage as I can.
Yeah. That's just part of war and fighting and all that. Yeah. And it's a lot easier to do this kind of thing than it is to sit in a cell in Gitmo or worse. So.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you got the Saudi thing where Nugent pulled back from the conference that was going to occur over there in Saudi Arabia, the Davos of Saudi Arabia, they called it. And that was the reason that was given for the markets falling. And yeah, but what occurs to me, and probably to a lot more people after they've spent a little more time getting more information and opinion, is that the people that the Saudi prince had under house arrest, the ones who probably tried to assassinate him before, did this to damage his credibility and create a pretext for Donald Trump having to do something that would cause the market to go down or whatever, something along those lines. It's another pushback, but not from the Saudi state per se, but by some of the malcontents, and the opposition.
Yep.
And
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot going on. Now, just a reminder of, speaking of that the Senate approved disclosure of 9/11 documents some time ago. I don't know when that's coming out. Probably next month, I guess. But just thought I'd throw that in there for what it's worth. I don't know what else to say about that.
Well, there's a lot of this month left, and a lot more that's supposed to be happening. So things could be heating up to some really big things here in a little bit.
And Rod Rosenstein is supposed to testify in Congress on Wednesday. I don't know if he's on. Yeah, I don't know. I think he was subpoenaed, but I'm not sure. I just saw that in the scroll today. So things are heating up in that way. It could be, pulling the curtain from the deep state with him up there. And for all we know, he could be playing for the team in the end. Looking like he's the enemy, and then suddenly he does us all a favor and start spilling some of the beans, along with the market going down, let's say day after day or every other day. So those, the deep state and the markets, they both kind of have to come down around the same time, and we go in there and exchange, and we kind of rebuilt the coffers of the world and the treasury and whatever else is entailed, like Patrick is suggesting, and then they announce the gold standard and the new republic. Maybe suspension of elections. We'll see.
Well, I would think the elections would have to be suspended because there'll be a lot of people going to jail.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That occurred to me, especially if there are a lot of people in the Senate who leaked, or some of them anyway, on that Senate committee who leaked documents back in 2017, according to Dave. That's what was pieced together from all the information that's come out. That could be the real disruptor. Because if you just suspend it, saying, well, we got a new government and we're just going to change everything, that might upset a lot of people. But if there's so much bad stuff going on, then you say, yeah.
And then when martial law is enacted, which somewhere in there it could certainly be enacted, then there would be definitely no election.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to explain the new republic.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's takes a little time to process. How we became a corporation, and why suddenly all at once are we getting the republic? Yeah. Well, anyway, ask this question for months and years, and we'll find out.
Well, it's kind of above our pay grade, probably.
Yeah. Well, we were told, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, that there'd be a lot of disclosure going on about, Nasara and the new republic. But they've got that all figured out.
Yeah.
They tweaked it, I'm sure, quite a few times along the way. And here we are. Yeah. Was there anything else in the Trump rally that stood out that you maybe hadn't heard before from what you listened to?
Not really, just the same. I mean, just a lot of excitement, and he he's made a big deal about the big caravan that's coming. And
that's the big news story, and
they're not getting into Mexico. He took care of that. Didn't say anything about the wall. I mean, of course, the wall's always part of the subject, but had nothing to do with them coming or closing down the border, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But
that's his big. Okay, so that's his big item today. Most of the time, he's repeating the same speech he has been using for a couple of months.
Yeah, it has, and
he tweaks things so it doesn't get too boring.
And
says some things a little differently. But.
Yeah, right. And of course, he was there to support the local senators and congressmen.
Right.
Too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's really been busy, I'll tell you. Almost every day, maybe he's had 1 or 2 days off where he hasn't been stumping for somebody.
Yeah, like I've been saying all along, he's in his element. He loves it. This is really
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He gets to call he gets to at least look like he's calling most of the shots. He's got a program he's working with.
Yeah.
They're all playing with it, but he gets to, put emphasis here or there, or, describe it.
One thing that he said that was kind of made you think. He said, "There's something exciting coming. There's something exciting coming. Something along that line." He said, "You wait and see." So what could it be? Arrests, or all of a sudden a lot of money injected? I mean, you take 5 or 6 million people, which is what it's estimated in this country alone, that has some sort of amounts of currency that's going to be spending money. Don't you think that's going to really have a tremendous impact?
The whole thing with the Republic and Nasara is really includes the debt jubilee, which will take a load off a lot of people. You might see the markets going down, but then you hear, they can't foreclose on my home. They've been foreclosing, and now it's mine. My student debt, I don't have to pay it, or most of it. Credit card debt, we have money coming to us, if that's still in the cards. That's that's where you kind of, you take it down, but then you bring everyone up, and I think to be much happier, even though there's going to be people losing money in the markets, because they just didn't realize that they needed to get out, even though people have been talking about it for years, that this day is coming. Yeah.
Did you see that video that I put out? And I think you put it out, and then I found it. It's gone out at least 2 times, kind of giving a background and how people are really not going to know what to do. It's going to be so confusing. This new life that people are going to experience.
Yeah, well, it's going to be, we're going to go through a metamorphosis. We're not going to be living under the reality we've been indoctrinated under for so long. It's going to be
History's rewritten.
Much better. Just much better.
Everything,
in the long view.
everything that we've been taught and is just, it's going to be different. The truth is going to come out. My wife made a
Instead of
statement.
us being propagandized and controlled and manipulated, by sleight of hand, to the point where you didn't even realize it. It's, you'd have, it's just, we're going to be told, hey, here's what's really been going on, and here's what you're going to get, and here's how things are going to be better. And, and things that have been withheld from us, I think that'll wake up a lot of people, whether it's technologies or space programs, and not to mention the aliens, whatever, all that stuff. Oh, okay, I've heard that, or we believe that, I've heard people talking about it now, that's what's going on. Yeah.
It's interesting. My wife mentioned today, and believes me, she never mentions anything like this. She said, "Do you believe that we really went to the moon?" And I said, "Nope, of course not." Apparently, it's in the social media that she's seeing on her Facebook.
It's getting around, that
idea. Yeah. Of course, my son told me this a couple years ago. Do you think we went to the moon? No, of course not. That is the stupidest thing. And he's right.
Well, I believed it, but I've heard it said so many times in the last few years that I leave my mind open. And I did see a special or some video with Stanley Kubrick shortly before he died, like a deathbed confession that he created the whole moon landing film. It was all a big con.
It was done in England. Actually, it was happened on a weekend. There happened to be a studio available for the weekend. They said you can have it, and he said they had to. It was. I remember it very distinctly. They really rushed, but it was done like in 2 days because they had to use where they were borrowing the studio from had to be used on Monday morning.
Oh, I see.
And
well, the whole thing is, you could do this with so many things, and this is what we've seen with some of these false flags, like the Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
That one was kind of easy to figure out that there's something that wasn't. There are too many things that weren't quite right.
Yeah.
And we weren't getting a very full, a credible story being told, or pictures being shown, et cetera. But after you've seen a few of those, you start to begin to wonder what really, went on and so on. But, the CIA and whatnot have been so good at doing these things, but people have gotten better at looking at it critically. And the internet has made it much easier for people to discuss it and exchange ideas at a faster rate while their attention is still on these things. That we have increased our odds of waking up in larger numbers than ever before.
Yeah.
In a short time.
Yeah. Of course, YouTube did go down worldwide for a short time. I know I've experienced it. I was just able to send out the big call on YouTube, but over the last 3 or 4 days, at least a week, there's been a lot of times couldn't send it, and other people were saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, what's up with that? And now Facebook has a war room, where they're going after so-called spammers on Facebook. I saw the guy I interviewed this morning who's the head of it for them. Like, we're getting really serious here. And, you begin to wonder how much is going to go out.
Yeah.
You can use that against the people, or for the people.
It's being used both ways. It's being used both ways. Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've pretty much beat this dog to death so far today. So I think tomorrow is going to be a pretty exciting day. Tomorrow is Friday. And,
yeah, we'll see what happens with the markets, and maybe we get a call. We'll see. You know, if not, you're just taking it a day at a time. But we're getting there.
We're getting there very close and very fast.
Yeah.
Okay, my friend.
Okay, Don. Nice talking to you.
Yep. Talk to you tomorrow night.
See you later.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Bye.